Springfield's Talk 1041. Good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. Welcome to your day. My name is Nick Reed. Pyramid Roofing Company, talk a text line 447 KSGF. If you'd like to text in to the studio, feel free to do so. We'd love to get those comments. Sometimes they make it on air, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you don't intend for them to make it on air. Just, kind of your opportunity to give a little bit of feedback, and we're always more than happy to take that. You see Trump delivering the old drive-through at McDonald's over the weekend.
Did you see the crowd that was outside of that McDonald's?
I mean, it's just so fantastic. I'm going to play audio later in the show, and there was someone was, I don't know if it was a news station or another employee, but of course, you had people filming, and there was somebody filming from inside, and there were 4 cars in a row. And it was such an interesting mixture, if you will. The first, as best you could tell, the first vehicle, it was a white mom with some kids in the car. The second one was a black father, or he said, I think he said this is my niece, but it was a black man driving with other people in the vehicle. The next vehicle after that was a couple that were either, I'm going to stereotype here, of Indian descent or Pakistani descent. And then after that, a woman with her family from Brazil. And
her audio.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these people, I don't know how to describe it. Now, she's saying to him, Mr. President, please do not let this country become like my home country of Brazil, please. And the family that's either Pakistani or Indian, they were like, we are praying for you. Oh my gosh, we are praying for you. Thank you for meeting and interacting with us ordinary people. I think he referenced, or normal or ordinary people is what he said. And Trump's like, you're not ordinary. And then you flip over to MSNBC, and they're like this almost mockingly confusion as to what Trump is doing. Why would he do this? This doesn't make any sense. They try to attribute it to his, they're trying to play him up. Is there something wrong with him mentally? And you see those scenes, and you further get the solidified sense of the elite, and then it's the rest of us. Trump is a representation of the normal, ordinary people in this country, and then the elites are on the other side. And to be a leftist and to see these Americans that are driving through, and then the things they're saying to Donald Trump, people from different backgrounds, people that are immigrants, and they are thanking him and saying, we are praying for you, and please don't let this country become like my home country. And none of that has any effect on them whatsoever. Nothing. Like, this is dumb. Why is he doing this? This doesn't make any sense. This is just some political stunt. They are so detached from why they really, truly, genuinely have no concept as to why it is that people are supportive of Donald Trump, and it's because they don't care. They have no interest in knowing, none. And to see, there was almost a pleading nature from some of those people coming through the drive-through, combined with this gratitude. Thank you so much for what you're doing for us. And it is such a stark contrast to what you're seeing from the Kamala Harris campaign out there, which continues to implode. I'm telling you, I have so many conversations with people, and I had conversations with people over the weekend. What do you think is going to happen? And there's this optimism on one hand, but there's concern on the other. It generally follows this line of, yeah, I know it does seem good, but we thought there's no way Biden could win. And I there are some massive differences between then and now. There are some similarities as well, of course, largely the concern of Democrats rigging the system. You have the media trying to rig the system. You've got election interference. I have a story about the UK sending over hordes and hordes of people in order to try and campaign for the Kamala Harris campaign. So election interference from foreign countries is, it's perfectly fine if it's for Kamala Harris and the Democrats. But even if they have to make up potential foreign interference in an effort to help Trump, fake dossier, paid for, and so forth, that is impeachable. That is requiring massive investigations and stories that then, although they end up not being true, the media gives themselves awards for. So, like everything else in this country, there is a two-tiered system. There is the average American and the people that average America supports, the non-establishment, and then there are the elites. And they can have all the foreign interference they want, as long as the foreign interference is supporting the right side. And they won't deny it. Because, see, their side is good for world stability. It makes sense that you would have foreign interference in our election to try to stop Trump from becoming president, because, after all, we're a world community. And what happens here in the United States has a massive impact on the rest of the world. Donald Trump has talked about pulling us out of NATO, so NATO countries should interfere in our elections, as long as it's to try to prevent the American people from voting for Donald Trump, of course. You understand how it works. It all makes perfect sense. Springfield's Talk 104.1, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Color 10, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 79. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 55. For your Tuesday, we do have a 30% chance of showers before 7 a.m. and then sunny with a high near 84. And on Wednesday, sunny with a high near 82.
Oh, yes, and we will also have the audio, if you missed it, where nothing really shocks me anymore, but I thought that was a dumb move. Kamala Harris mocking Christians.
I saw that.
I just unbelievable. What occurred was she was at an event, and of course she's talking about abortion, and a couple of Wisconsin college students were there, and one of them yelled, "Jesus is Lord," I think is what he yelled. And, you have people that go to rallies in order to try and disrupt and protest. Now, she mocked the guy, saying, "Oh, you're at the wrong rally." Now, when you are out there, just the week before, she's in a church preaching the gospel in the name of Jesus, suggesting that Christians should support her. And then just a week later, when somebody says Jesus is Lord, you say, "Oh, you're at the wrong rally. You need to go to the one down the road." And then, of course, the entire crowd just goes nuts. And these two students, they got pushed, they got spit on, they got screamed at. And she's just yucking it up. It seems to me as if I've actually heard people on behalf of her campaign claim that abortion is a Christian value. I mean, they've made this argument, so why is somebody who is a Christian at the wrong rally, according to Kamala Harris, when they're at her rally? We'll have that audio, too. We've got a lot of audio that we have. Traffic update, I'm Nick Reed. Former President Donald Trump yesterday overtaking Vice President Kamala Harris for the first time in the Decision Desk HQ Hill election forecast. The model predicts Trump has a 52% chance of winning the presidency, while Harris is down to 42%. This as of Sunday, since late August. The election forecast put Harris's chance of winning at approximately 54 to 56%, with Trump 44 to 46. In early October, however, those dynamics began to shift, and the election forecast predicted both candidates' chances to be closer to 50%. On October 17th, the model predicted the two candidates were equally likely to win next month, and Trump took the advantage on October 20th. The shift in election forecast coincides with the Republican candidates' improved polling averages in Wisconsin and Michigan, two battleground states that previously leaned slightly towards Harris. Trump already has the slim advantage in Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, the 7 swing states. Seen as decisive in determining the outcome of the election, Pennsylvania is alone and still favoring Harris in its polling average, though some individual polls are slowly but surely showing Trump the potential victor in that state. Nonetheless, the race remains a toss-up according to the election forecast, since the polling in all 7 states remains within the margin of error, meaning typical polling inaccuracies could shift the result in either direction. Then there is, some of those more specific polls. There were 2 polls conducted by Atlas Intel between October 12th through the 17th. So this would be last week. And those polls found that Trump was leading Harris nationally by nearly 51%, while Harris received 48%. And that Trump is leading Harris in Pennsylvania, according to that poll, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. In the national poll, surveying 4,180 likely voters, Trump received a 50.8% of support. Harris is receiving 48.1% support. The swing state poll found that in Arizona, out of 1,440 likely voter survey, Trump received 49.2%, Harris 48.6%. In Georgia, Trump 49.5%, Harris 48.1%. Michigan, Trump 49.6%, Harris 46.8%. And in Nevada, Trump at 48.4%, Harris at 48.1%. Pennsylvania, 49.8% for Trump, with Harris at 46.5%. So that one of the individual polls showing Trump with a 3.3% lead over Harris. There is a story regarding mail-in ballot returns, and the returns are looking positive for Republicans and for Trump. Now, that doesn't mean that overall the Republicans have necessarily a higher turnout rate for ballots. But given that the Republicans in the past have not really had any game of significance when it comes to early voting, and this was a big Trump initiative, and it's making a difference. This is one of the main, if not the sole reason, ultimately, that Trump pushed out the folks who were running the RNC before and implemented his own people. When this occurred, I believe it was after he won the South Carolina primary, this move was made. And, of course, the media portrayed him. He's trying to take everything over. He's a dictator. What Trump understood is that there is a severe lack of voter integrity and security when it comes to the way that we do voting in this country. And because of that, the culture within conservatives, Trump supporters, and Republican Party was show up the day of the vote. You don't have to worry about it getting lost in the mail. You don't have to worry about any funny business with the Postal Service if you have concerns about that. And that the one way you could absolutely guarantee that your vote, as best as possible, would actually get counted the way that it should is to be there on Election Day. But what Trump did is what Trump does. And he recognizes what works and what doesn't work. And he recognized the extreme advantage that Democrats got out of utilizing that early voting mechanism. And so he shifted course and said, this is what we have to do. The media recognized the danger to the Democrats if Trump is successful in doing this. And you could tell that they recognized it because they began trying to call him out as a hypocrite and essentially tell his supporters, look, you can't trust Trump. He's a hypocrite. He's flip-flopped on the issue of early voting. Well, he didn't flip-flop. His position was always, it's not good. But he did change strategy for good reason, because he recognized that in order to win, given the rules that are in place, we have to play by those rules. And the RNC said, yes, we get it, we understand, but it became very clear that he recognized that they just really either didn't get it or they did, but they didn't really understand the gravity of the need to make sure that they effectively do this. And so he pushed out the folks running the RNC, and he put his own people in there, and we're seeing the results of it. Mail-in ballot return data shows that the Republican Party in the swing state of Pennsylvania is seeing an 11-point swing in their direction. Cliff Maloney, who is leading a group called Pennsylvania Chase, told Breitbart News Sunday. Maloney explained to Breitbart News Washington Bureau Chief Matthew Boyle that the Pennsylvania Chase, which is going after ballots on the ground to ensure that low-propensity Republican voters request mail-in ballots and return them in the upcoming election, and it is working. In other words, these are people who have a low likelihood of actually voting. And so these are the people that they're targeting. Because you want to target the people that will vote for you if they vote for you, but there's a low likelihood that they actually will. They don't vote that often. Maybe they don't vote at all. And so these are the people that they're really targeting. And he says, this is working. We are making ground here in Pennsylvania. Republican voters request mail-in ballots and return them in the upcoming election. It's working, he said. Maloney pointed out that Republicans in Pennsylvania were up 90,000 mail-in ballot returns from the 2020 presidential election already. This represents an 11-point swing for the Republicans. The PA Chase is working. How do I know that, he says? Not only from anecdotal conversations and direct feedback at the door, but let's look at the numbers. If we compare 2020 at this time, compared to today, for 2024, here are the specifics. Democrats are at 514,000 returns. Republicans are at 215,000 returns. I'm not talking about requests anymore. These are actual Democrat voters, so we have party registration by party, so that's public information. And so we know the Democrats have requested a ballot. 514,000 of them have sent their ballots back. Republicans have had 215. And the reason I tell people, you have to look at the context. You compare that to returns in 2024 at this time, and Republicans are up 90,000 ballots, and Democrats are down roughly 40,000 ballots. So it's an 11-point swing for Republicans. He pointed out that in 2020, President Joe Biden, quote, won Pennsylvania by only 80,000 votes, noting that Republicans in the state were trending up 90,000. So the Democrats still have more early ballots going in than Republicans. But the amount that the Democrats are down versus the amount that the Republicans are up, if all other things were equal, means that if this had occurred back in 2020, Trump would have won Pennsylvania. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. All right, we got a traffic update then. Election interference. The UK's governing Labour Party has sent 100 activists to Kamala battleground states. So clear up any confusion about election interference. It's not always bad. Election interference is only a danger to democracy if it can be presented as harming the establishment and helping the American people, Donald Trump. But if it's to help prevent the American people from selecting Donald Trump as president, then it's good. It's very good.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Color 10, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 79. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 55. For your Tuesday, we'll see a 30% chance of showers before 7 a.m. and then sunny with a high near 84. And on Wednesday, sunny with a high near 82.
Aside from all the polls, you just can't help. I can't help. But I don't want to use the word giddy, but because it's not giddiness. Just the last couple of weeks, it's been one home run after another for the Trump Vance campaign and just one debacle after another for the Harris Waltz. I mean, it's just train wreck after train wreck after train wreck. From the refusal to attend the Al Smith dinner and that horrible, cringy video that she submitted mocking Jesus at a rally when somebody yelled, "Jesus is Lord," declaring you're at the wrong rally, and then laughed while everyone, cheered them out of the arena. she had an event that was really billed as it was supposed to be a big deal. I think it was in Detroit. Lizzo is going to be there. And so there's this expectations. Of course, she's going to perform because this is how Kamala gets crowds there. Kamala spoke for like 6 minutes or something, and then Lizzo didn't even perform. You have increasing number of Black Americans that are coming out. This Stephen Smith, this extreme left-wing ESPN talk show guy, just railed. We've got audio of that later on Obama for declaring that black men who don't support Kamala Harris, it's because they're misogynistic. And that move of insulting, lecturing people who don't support your candidate, just most people don't like that. Where, you just watch this stuff play out. Meanwhile, Trump is at McDonald's, and you have average people that are just thanking him so much. They're saying, thank you so much for what you're doing for us. One woman from Brazil, she's an American citizen now, but she said, please don't let what happened to my home country of Brazil happen here to the United States. I mean, these people are just so grateful. Thank you for doing this, meeting with us. The difference between the two, Trump keeps on this steady course, and then the Kamala Harris campaign continue just to be Kamala Harris. You just can't help but, at the very least, enjoy the ride for the last couple of weeks here. Now, it's clear Democrats are worried. The media is worried. Left-wing activists that are all over the world are worried, and this is why the governing Labour Party in the UK is actively participating in election interference in our presidential elections. Around 100 British left-wing activists are being funded to campaign for Kamala Harris in swing states, leading to allegations of election interference and even American electoral law being broken. Well, I don't think what do you mean allegation of election interference? Obviously, that's the whole point. Their entire point is to come here and try and convince people to vote for Kamala Harris. I mean, obviously, they are trying to create a particular outcome that they fear may not occur unless they are there. Otherwise, what's the point? Obviously, they feel that they can make a difference, and that difference, what they're hoping is altering an outcome. They fear Donald Trump becoming president of the United States, so they are paying people to come over here in order to try to stop that from happening. By definition, that's election interference. A social media post by the Director of Operations of the UK's governing party, Labour, recruiting Labour Party staff for campaigning in North Carolina, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Virginia has caused concern. The message from Labour's Sophia Patel promised paid-for accommodations for those taking up the offer, writing in a now-deleted post, I have nearly 100 Labour Party staff, current and former, going to the U.S. in the next few weeks, heading to North Carolina, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. I have 10 spots available for anyone available to head to the battleground state of North Carolina. We will sort your housing. Email me at laborforkamala@gmail.com if you're interested. Thanks. NBC 15, local affiliate there, notes, Patel has previously campaigned in the U.S. for Hillary Clinton. Some have expressed concern the group may have been breaking U.S. law, including Elon Musk and Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who recommended UK politicians would probably be better off back in Britain fixing their country's many problems rather than trying to interfere abroad, stating you're breaking Federal Election Commission law. Foreign nationals are not allowed to be involved in any way in U.S. elections. Please go back to the UK, fix your own mass immigration problems that are ruining your country. As it is, under U.S. Federal Election Commission rules, foreign nationals are allowed to volunteer on political campaigns, but cannot be paid a salary, donate money, spend money on the campaign's behalf, or take leadership roles. Whether these laws have been obeyed will have to be determined by the FEC, but influential Westminster gossip blog Guido Fawkes states it's understanding that the trips to America for labor staff being paid for by the Democratic Party, and they are campaigning on their own time, which would be legal. Nevertheless, as Brexit leader Nigel Farage points out, having the UK governing party's director of operations organize the volunteers doesn't come without the possibility of unintended consequences for a government which has been trying to build bridges with the Trump campaign in case he's the next president, with Farage saying this is direct election interference by the governing Labour Party, and particularly stupid if Trump wins. Who's paying for all this? So you have a couple of versions here. One is claiming that the Democrat Party itself is paying people from Europe in order to interfere in our elections. I mean, these people, there is no limit to their hypocrisy. The years that we went through, fake allegations of election interference, that Russia was interfering in our elections. Trump should be in prison because he knew about it, perhaps even participated in it. According to these reports, the Democrat Party is paying for the election interference. But of course, that's fine, right? Because like everything else with these people, they are not principled, they are not moral, they're not honest. And there is no truth other than what helps them regain or retain power. And so election interference all day long is fine, as long as it is helping them. Just like Zelensky coming over here. Coming over here to Pennsylvania to go to a factory, the swing state of Pennsylvania, making sure that all of those voters understand the reason that they have the jobs they have is because of the continued funding from Biden and Harris. And that administration is the reason that all of those people have jobs. It is, I mean, you lose words at some point. And it isn't only the brazen approval and perhaps even participation and funding of foreign entities interfering and foreign governments. This is the Labor Party. We're not talking about a bunch of, expats that used to live here in the United States and now they're citizens over there in the UK and they just care about what happens in their homeland. This is the ruling party in the government that at the very least is coordinating and recruiting people to come here and interfere in our elections. Can you imagine if, you know where that sentence is going. If Donald Trump, if some foreign government was recruiting people and coordinating people to come to swing states and try and alter the outcome of the election, and then if there were allegations that the Trump campaign or the Republican Party was funneling the money to help make it happen, there'd be calls for him to be in prison. The Biden Department of Justice, let's not forget, held a press conference with indictments of citizens in Russia for interfering in our election for what? Facebook posts. Not for actually recruiting people to come to swing states here in the United States and go door to door or try to help create rallies or events or do whatever it is they were going to try and do in order to get Trump elected president. No, because of Facebook posts. This is the level of corruption that we need to recognize and understand happens under Democrat rule. They will indict foreign citizens for Facebook posts alleging that it was meant to interfere in our elections. But if you have an actual government coordinating ground volunteers to fly and house them here in the United States in order to help interfere in an election, as long as it's their side, A-OK, nothing to worry about. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. The Pyramid Roofing Company. Now, if you have roof damage from spring storms and you have been putting it off, or you just want to check on the health of your roof, now is the time to do it. And that is why I want to recommend Josh and his team over at the Pyramid Roofing Company. Now, the Pyramid team, they offer free roof inspections. They'll come out, they'll take photos and videos so you can see exactly what they see, and then they're going to tell you the best solution for you and your home. And if it is time to do repairs, or maybe it is time to go ahead and get that new roof, they're going to work through that insurance process with you without making you sign anything. And speaking of insurance, there is a time limit to file those claims. So if you think that you do have damage from those May storms, make sure to schedule that free roof inspection as soon as you possibly can. So if it is time to have the Pyramid Roofing Company out at your home, go ahead and give Josh and his team a call today. You can find all of that contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at KSGF.com.
The biggest concern that most Americans have, because of what has long been a history of the Democrat Party, and that is stuffing ballot boxes, stealing elections. I mean, this isn't anything new. This has been going on. I mean, most people, even if they weren't alive, know the history of Chicago specifically when it came to the Kennedy-Nixon campaign. So, everyone knows that this happens. Of course, they have learned to really, really ramp it up, and we know this, we recognize it, and there are Republicans in some states that are doing what they can in order to clean some of this up. Now, that's just a battle that we have to fight. People who want free and fair elections. As citizens, we recognize that we are up against the Democrat Party in this country. It's why getting out to vote is as important as it is. We just have to overcome it. That's what you do. And if you're up against a team that cheats, and they're allowed to cheat, you just got to fight harder. You have to overcome it. I know a lot of people say, "What's the point?" They want to give up. That to them is the best outcome. To them, you giving up and saying, "What's the point? They're going to steal it anyway." That's just less work for them. That is getting you to help them do the heavy lifting. But it is important to continue to be aware of it, because the more people that are aware of it, the more likely Republicans will be, and it'll be state by state in particular, to pass election integrity laws. Because the fact of the matter is, already most Americans support stronger laws when it comes to the integrity of voting across all spectrums. Majorities of people, including people of color that Democrats claim don't have the mental capacity to get a photo ID. They just don't know how. So but the Republican Party still, in many instances, they get scared because they get accused of Jim Crow 2.0, and they're just trying to disenfranchise black people, and that's why this culture needs to continue to push this way, where you have the highlighting of the problems so that it becomes palpable that people want these voter integrity laws. And you've got a real battle that's been brewing out in Virginia, where Virginia has been taking people off the voter rolls that are not legally on the voter rolls. And, of course, the Biden administration is suing to stop them from doing that. These are people who are dead. These are people who are illegal immigrants. There's no question that they're not supposed to be on the voter rolls, but, of course, the Department of Justice under this administration is fighting them in court to prevent them to stop them from removing those people. The lieutenant governor was on Fox News talking about this issue yesterday.
How many people are on the voter rolls that shouldn't be there right now? Can you characterize really the reality of inactives or illegals on voter rolls?
What we found over 6,000, maybe 6,300, I believe, people who identified that they were not citizens and yet they're on the voter rolls. Wow. So they have 14 days to prove that they are actually eligible to vote. And I then gave you the fail-safe caveat that they can come on election day and vote. We found people, Maria, who had been dead since 1960, who were still on the voter rolls. Now, I didn't say that they voted. I said that they were still on the voter rolls. And then we found people who have been in other states, and yet they're still on our voter rolls. It's a no-brainer.
Well, you would think it is, and it is a no-brainer if you want free and fair elections. I would note, once again, there is no country in the modern world that has such a lack of security when it comes to the vote. No country. We treat our vote with so little reverence, so little respect, and so little security. It is an embarrassment. And in other countries, particularly in Europe, there's no fight over this. You don't have a political party that is for election security while another one is fighting against it, like you do here in the United States. It's bipartisan. Everyone agrees. Whether it is a two-party system or a multi-party system in other countries, that we just need to do everything to make sure that the vote is as secure as possible. What you don't have, and what is unfortunately, under the Democrats, unique in the United States, is one party that tries to do it while the other party sues to stop it from happening. And everyone knows why, including them. Because they cannot win legitimately. They have to cheat. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. about a year and a half ago, when there was some event, and I believe it was Donald Trump was talking about, or the Trump campaign, the need for Americans to really keep a watchful eye on polling places and drop boxes, and there were recruitment efforts. It may not have been by the campaign, but for people who want election integrity, to keep an eye on this stuff. And I noted at the time, because I know how the totalitarians of the Democrat Party behave, that they will present that as voter intimidation. If you, for example, if you see somebody showing up at a polling place and they are stuffing a drop box, or drop box wouldn't be at the polling place, but if you see stuffing and then you try to film that, they will come after you. Now you may say to yourself, well, that's not illegal. Well, it also wasn't illegal to stand outside the Capitol on January 6th, but that net has been widened, and this administration is tracking those people down. It doesn't matter whether it's legal or not to these people. And I just, because I want people to be aware, this is the direction that a year and a half ago when this came up, that they would be headed. And this following story fulfills that. DOJ deploys district election officers to handle threats and intimidation. The Justice Department deploying district election officers across the nation ahead of Election Day to ensure poll workers can, quote, do their jobs free from threats and intimidation. Now, of course, who gets to determine what is a threat and intimidation? Well, if it is a Democrat and they feel intimidated, that's all that it will take. It doesn't matter what you're doing. And if they have their way, they will turn this country into what we've seen in Venezuela and so many of these other countries, where everything is so clearly corrupt, but everyone also knows if you open your mouth about it, then you will be held accountable, up to and including incarceration. And that's where the Democrat Party continues to take us. And this deployment of individuals by the Department of Justice is one of the many signs it's coming. Springfield's Talk 104.1. Welcome to the show as we get closer and closer to winter. Winterizing your vehicle is very important. A1 Custom Car Care, they are there to take care of that for you. Maybe it's straight up needing new tires. I know we're going to be in the 80s this week, but the inclement weather is going to come. And what's the one part of your vehicle that is in contact with the roads? It's the tires. And a lot of times, that's not a fun thing to purchase because, there's a lot of other things you could do with that money, particularly as the weekend is or the holidays are coming, and it's just not fun. Most people put it off as long as possible, but with that inclement weather, keeping control in slick weather, if you hit ice, of course, doesn't matter how new your tires are, ice is slippery. But once you get off the ice, how quickly can you control where it is you're going, the direction you're headed? And that can be the difference between having, the difference between whether or not you control your vehicle before you go off the road or into oncoming traffic can be the tires themselves. A1 Custom Car Care, not only do they have the balancing and the rotations, but they sell tires now also, so you don't have to make a separate appointment elsewhere in order to do that for all of your winterization needs, defrost tires, whatever it may be. A1 Custom Car Care. I love watching the left go apoplectic when it's not even the right necessarily, but when anyone does anything that either they've done themselves and all of a sudden someone else decides, hey, maybe we should try that, or it's something they hadn't thought of. Because they are the great overlords. In their minds, if we haven't come up with it and told you that you can do it, then you doing it is an awful thing. And the latest total apoplectic reaction of the left is regarding this Elon Musk announcement that he made. Now, they hate him because he's not a lapdog of theirs. He's not even some conservative guy, politically speaking. Unless we're just going to equate not hating the country with being conservative. If that's the new definition of conservative, you don't want to destroy the country, then I suppose he is. But he's a guy who is not from this country. He's a legal immigrant who has been wildly successful here in the United States, and he just happens to not hate the country. So that makes him an enemy of the Democrat Party. He also believes in the First and Second Amendment very strongly. So he has this PAC, Political Action Committee, and he is asking people, specifically in swing states, to sign a petition that says that they will support the First and Second Amendment. Part of his Willy Wonka-style excitement that he's crafting is to say that every single day between now and the election, a random person who signs the petition saying they support the First and Second Amendment, they will continue to pledge to do so, will get $1 million. Well, the left just hates this. They hate it. They hate it. Number one, because government's the only one that's supposed to give out money. How dare some American citizen do this? That's our job. Our job is to influence people with money. They are accusing him of, quote, buying votes. Now, he says the $1 million a day, it's to get a lot of attention so that more people know about it. And if, in fact, that is his ultimate overriding goal, it's worked. Because you have everyone within the Democrat Party, including the governor of Pennsylvania, Shapiro, they're all suggesting I think that the law enforcement needs to look into this. For what? Number one, where to even begin with this? The allegations he's buying votes. No one's voting. This has nothing to do with voting. You would have an argument if he was offering $1 million a day for a person who votes early. This is for people who sign his petition declaring that they will adhere to supporting the First and Second Amendment. Only the left could have a problem with an American citizen, particularly a legal immigrant, encouraging people to support our Constitution. And you think about that their immediate reaction to trying to draw attention and create excitement amongst our population for the sole purpose of supporting our Constitution, and the immediate reaction from the Democrat Party is, I think this person may be in violation of some law and should go to prison. I mean, how dare he financially encourage people to support the Constitution of the United States of America? Who does he think he is? What does he think this is, America? There is absolutely nothing that even is close to illegal, best anyone has presented, about this. We're not talking about voting. We're not even talking about primary system. This is his own little PAC with an online petition, and he's just giving away his money. It's not like, when Joe Biden was telling the people of Georgia, if you vote for and elect a Democrat senator, I'll give you $1,600 apiece from the taxpayers. It's not like he's saying, oh, hey, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to force the American people to pay for your student loans. This is his money, and it's his political action committee. Oh, he's also offering money in order, to get volunteers for the PAC. Yeah, that happens all the time. PACs have paid employees. I guarantee you, these people that were collecting signatures in Missouri to make abortion part of the Constitution up until birth, that there were some of those people getting paid. So Elon Musk is using his resources as an American citizen, a legal immigrant to this country, in order to encourage people to be part of a process that is adherent to the Constitution of the United States of America, and the left is talking about putting him in prison for it. Kristen Welker, moderator of NBC's Meet the Press, asked Governor Shapiro if such an offer is legal, after Musk announced the idea during a town hall in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Well, my question, of course, if Shapiro wasn't some left-wing lunatic, would be, why wouldn't it be? I mean, that's the question. Why would this be illegal? Is there evidence this is illegal? What is the origin of your question? What information do you have that makes you believe that it's not legal? Of course, there is no evidence that it's illegal. It's just the fact that, well, he is doing something that is pro-Constitution, and he doesn't like Kamala Harris. And he's helping Donald Trump, the greatest sin of all. Shapiro, who used to be the Attorney General of Pennsylvania, said, I think there are real questions with how he's spending money in this race. This isn't the race. How the dark money is flowing, not just into Pennsylvania, but apparently now into the pockets of Pennsylvanians, that is deeply concerning. Musk obviously has the right to be able to express his views. This is where you know that they're going, every time, obviously we support this, or obviously we support that, and then they go into telling you how they don't. Shapiro went on to say he's made it very, very clear that he supports Donald Trump. Oh, well, you're not supposed to do that in America. Again, what country does this guy think he's in? As an American citizen? Supporting a presidential candidate that's not an elite? I don't deny I'm the right, but when you start flowing this kind of money into politics, I think it raises serious question that folks may want to take a look at. Welker pressed Shapiro again on whether he thinks the offer was legal, to which the governor replied, I think it's something that law enforcement could take a look at. I'm not the Attorney General anymore of Pennsylvania. I'm the governor, but it does raise some serious questions because he knows it's not illegal. But this is the disinformation campaign that the left, with the help of the media, they create this environment in which there's absolutely no connection to law that is suggesting there's anything about this illegal. He's doing, in a creative capacity, what left-wing organizations do all the time. This is a political party. that for the longest time was known for giving cartons of cigarettes to people in exchange for their votes, right here in Missouri even. They know it's not illegal, but as usual, they want to create this environment in which it seems as if it might be, and at the very least, if it isn't, well, I mean, it certainly should be, and it's certainly unethical. Also, during that interview, we'll play this audio coming up, Kirsten Welker was pressuring or pushing Shapiro to name one policy difference between Harris and Biden, and, of course, there isn't one, so he failed to answer. Plus much more, including, yes, Kamala Harris mocking Christians and Donald Trump warmly, to put it mildly, received while serving up food at McDonald's. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Color 10, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 79. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 55. For your Tuesday, a 30% chance of showers before 7 a.m. and then sunny with a high near 84. And on Wednesday, sunny with a high near 82.
Okay. Pyramid Roofing Company talk at text line 447 KSGF. So Governor Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, this is the Jewish governor that would have made, well, it did make the most sense politically for Kamala to pick as vice president, except for the anti-Semitism in the Democrat Party. And that was the reason that she skipped over him. This wasn't a secret. I mean, the media was openly talking about how it would be very problematic for her to pick a Jew to be on the ticket with her. So instead, she went with folksy Tim Walz, who has turned out to be such a brilliant pick for a number of different reasons. But Governor Shapiro, being the good little Democrat that he is, even though he was the participant in a demonstration of anti-Semitism here in the country, he's still out there campaigning for the Democrats. He is a Democrat, and he's campaigning for Kamala Harris. And he was asked by Kirsten Welker, host of NBC, or Kristen Welker, rather, what's the just one policy difference between Harris and Biden?
Governor, given how unpopular polls show President Biden is, has Vice President Harris done enough to distance herself from President Biden?
You know, Kristen, I think what is clear is this is a race not between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, but between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And on that, there are clear contrasts. Kamala Harris wants to cut taxes for the middle class and small businesses. Donald Trump's tariffs and his economic policies would raise costs for middle class families. I think Kamala Harris has a strong and competent approach to foreign policy to try and calm tensions overseas. Donald Trump just wants to throw a grenade and everything and create more chaos and more suffering across the globe. I think you have a clear contrast on freedom between those two candidates. Kamala Harris wants to restore Roe. Donald Trump brags about how he's ripped away the freedom from millions of women across this country. So listen, I think you have a clear contrast between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, and voters are going to the polls literally right now all across America, focusing on that choice, not a choice between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden.
I understand what you're saying, Governor, but polls do show that more Americans feel as though President Biden's policies have hurt them rather than helped them. So can you name one key policy difference between Vice President Harris and President Biden? How would her administration look different?
You know, I've been really encouraged by the amount of energy that Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, has put into focusing on how she will cut taxes for small businesses. The focus on child care tax credit expansion, that's something I've done here in Pennsylvania. We've seen that work to ease the burden on families. I think a focus on those kinds of things is particularly important, and those are the kinds of things I think Kamala Harris has brought specifically to this race.
Those aren't necessarily differences, though. They're an expansion or a tweak to some extent to what's been done. Can you name one policy difference?
Well, listen, again, the contrast I am focused on, Kristen, is between her and Donald Trump. And on that, I think it is clearly different. I don't want to go back to Donald Trump when he was in charge of this country. Remember the record. I know there's still some people that have maybe a little brain fog. They don't remember what it was like. Under Donald Trump, you had more chaos, you had less jobs, and you had a whole lot less freedom. I don't think we want to go back to a time of chaos. I want a stable, strong leader, and that's Kamala Harris.
This is such a massive misstep, and it's really not that difficult. But there's such a stubbornness and arrogance in the Democrat Party. The way to get around answering this is to talk about how you would have done something a little bit differently. I'm telling you, this is exactly the way that this question should be answered. What would a policy difference be? A policy difference would be one that was a better understanding Now, by the way, this is a BS answer, but this is how you get around it. And it's just amazing to me that they have not done this. Or, they talk about, well, how's she going to be different than Biden? Is there anything you would do different than Biden did? The right answer politically is that what I would do different than Joe Biden is understand that the Republican Party is not what it was once upon a time, and you cannot deal with them like you did once upon a time. Joe Biden, when he was a U.S. Senator, served in an era where Republicans and Democrats would put partisan politics aside, and unfortunately, he believed that was still the case while he was president of the United States, and because of that, we weren't able to get a lot of things done. I'll have a different approach. Because I recognize I served in the Senate while Donald Trump was president of the United States, and Biden didn't have that experience. So we have different recognitions of he was just Biden was approaching dealing with Congress from days past, and I won't do that. Because I recognize now that Donald Trump, in his time as the presidency's made you just trash on him a bit. That's the easy answer politically. Because what you're doing is you are talking about how you would do things differently, but the reason you're doing them differently is not because Joe Biden is a bad person, but because he was just used to a time when Republicans were good, and now they're really bad. So you're able to answer the question while trashing on Trump. The fact that no Democrat seems to have figured this one out is pretty remarkable to me. Instead, you got Shapiro up there. He's like, people forget how bad they had it when Trump was president of the United States. What is the one thing that people on the street say? You particularly hear it in these barbershop interviews, or you've got, these men on the street. They talk about how things were better under Trump. They talk about how their lives were better. They talk about how their jobs were better. They talk about how their incomes were better. They talk about how they felt more safe. MSNBC had a panel of Arab Americans they were interviewing. And one of them, not a single one of them, this was in Michigan, not a single one of them said they were going to vote for Kamala Harris. And one of them said, everyone keeps telling us that Donald Trump is a dictator, but I felt safer with Trump as president. So this arrogant approach that the Democrats are, because they just don't want to admit that people had it better under Trump. And so they'll cut off their nose despite their face. And instead of, taking an approach of recognizing that things were better then, which you can do artfully, though dishonestly, in a manner that also, trashes on Trump, they just continue to go out there and tell people they're wrong. They have brain fog. You brain fog people who think that you were better off under Trump. You're just wrong. Just keep it up. Keep it up. Thanksgiving, I mean, it's some time away. Or maybe you keep that fridge stocked with a good go-to beer that you always have on reserve there for yourself, for others, or maybe Halloween while the trick-or-treaters are coming. Bradford Light, hardworking men, women who appreciate reliable, easy drinking experience, brought to you by Show Me Beverage from Kansas Territory Brewing. You can now find it in area Macadoodles and Price Cutter. You can also check out the brewery's website at kansasterritorybrewingco.com.
Let's talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Color 10, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 79. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 55. For your Tuesday, we'll see a 30% chance of showers before 7 a.m. and then sunny with a high near 84. And on Wednesday, sunny with a high near 82.
I know we do have the audio that I want to play of Trump and people reacting as they drove through the drive-thru at McDonald's. But first, Kamala Harris has a new response to the question that she was asked recently. I think this was over the weekend at an event, and she was asked once again about, her as vice president and the Biden administration, and it's all in that context of what would you do differently.
President Biden said this week that every president has to cut their own path. What is one policy that you would have done differently over these last 3.5 years than President Biden?
I mean, to be very candid with you even including Mike Pence, vice presidents are not critical of their presidents.
Approach. Oh, vice presidents really don't matter. I can't. She's like, Mike Pence said it too. I mean, vice presidents, they're not critical to anything whatsoever. This is just such a fantastic new approach. I was pretty much worthless. I was just, I meant nothing.
Yeah, don't matter.
Totally irrelevant. She's gone from meeting with the president every single day, gone from being instrumental in the decision-making process,
being in charge of very important things.
Yeah, the border, freedom to vote, AI, artificial intelligence, space. And I know there's some others I've been missing because we went over the list one day, and it's like I forgot about half of these. But she was the last person in the room for important decisions, to where now her position when it comes to what would you do different as vice president, she's like, you know what, ask Mike Pence. He'll tell you. I mean, really, I'm worthless. I was just there. I had no impact whatsoever. Just look away. I mean, what? It's just a fantastic approach. I think that might. I don't know that they can go anywhere else with it. I mean, they've tried to evade. Maybe they're going to keep asking this question. So let's just tell them that you are irrelevant, and maybe they'll leave you alone. The follow-up question would be, is Tim Walz also going to be irrelevant as vice president? Is he going to have little to no consequence whatsoever on your administration if you're elected president? Trump serving up customers at a McDonald's drive-thru in Philadelphia. I'm going to play audio. Now, this audio, someone's filming on their phone, so of course it's not the best audio in the world. You're going to hear an exchange with 4 different vehicles that go through. The first vehicle, it is, you can see the driver in each vehicle, but then some of the vehicles you get a better glimpse of who else is in the vehicle. The first one, white woman, kids in the car. Second one, black guy, some family in the car. I think there were some kids. Third vehicle, a couple that they're either now they have very thick accents that suggest, along with how they visually look, as if they are either from India or Pakistan. And then the fourth vehicle is a woman who is from Brazil, and we know this because she refers to her home country of Brazil. And this is, so the perspective of the person who's filming is standing behind him as he is serving up and handing the meals. This was after he worked the fry. It's not a machine, but I don't know what they call that. What do they call it? The fry thing? Whatever.
The fryer.
Yeah, the fryer. Yeah, he was shown how to do the fries, and then he shifts over and he's actually handing the food to the people in each of the vehicles. All right, sorry. This is the previous audio. Here we go. Here he is working at McDonald's.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Don. You have a great mom? Good or great? That's right. You know what to say. Thank you very much. Thank you, Don. Wow. Very nice.
You doing a good job.
Okay. The nice people we're meeting.
So you hear my dad.
Hey, look at this guy. I'm not going to mess with him. How you doing, sir? Fantastic. Hello. How are you? You're good, baby. How are you? Doing great. How are you? So this is complimentary. Okay. All right. So have a good time. Don't eat too much, right? Have a great day. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good time. Excuse me. I could do this all day. I wouldn't mind this job. I like this job. I think I might come back and do it again. Thank you. Look, thank you, Mr. President. It's very possible for ordinary people like us to keep you. You're not ordinary. I mean, thank you so much. You are not ordinary. I can see. Pray for you. You are the type of person who wants to be the president. Thank you so much. So nice. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's a good point. That's right. Thank you, Mr. President. When you think about it, that's right. Thank you very much. Beautiful one. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Right on. Have fun. Okay, this will be your next one. The next one. Both of them. Okay. Hello, everybody. A lot of fun here, everybody. Look at the fake. Look at all the fake news. Mr. Trump, okay?
Yes, thank you. Vice President,
Yes.
please don't let the United States become Brazil, my native.
We'll keep it good. We're going to make it better than ever, okay? Thank you. Mr. Trump. Thank you. Have a good time. Nice to see you. Bye, darling. Thank you.
Now there was huge crowds outside as well. You were talking about that, and I didn't see as many of those shots. But there's a picture that to me it almost looks like an ad for recruitment for McDonald's, where he's kind of leaning out the window, and someone took a picture of it. It's just such a hilariously perfect picture. You know, of those four that came through, the first two were, it was, like I said, a white lady, and she was, really happy, and she's like, "Make America great again." And then the second vehicle, the guy, he was this, kind of big black guy, so I'm not gonna mess with him, and it was a real friendly exchange. But I thought those latter two, these are two, couples that have clear connections to other countries. The last saying that Brazil is her native country. The couple before, now whether they themselves are from India or their parents, they had accents which suggests they were either from India or Pakistan, or they were raised by people who were, because of the thick accent that they still had. But I thought that it's just, there's something about it in which they had almost this, like you sense this underlying angst about what happens if he doesn't get elected. Like they know, because they've lived in other countries, and it's almost as if they really truly understand what's at stake, and you hear the gratitude and the gratefulness in their voices. And the couple that was Eastern Asian, again, either Pakistan or India, just one, he said, "Thank you for talking to us ordinary people." And Trump's like, "You're not ordinary. Hey, we are praying for you. We are praying for you. Thank you so much." And then the woman from Brazil, "Please, please, please do not let this country become like my native country, please." And then you get that interaction, that connection that people, some of which are immigrants to this country, some of which are American-born, all different races, and that just sense of significance and importance. And then you get this from MSNBC.
Of that. But what is the logic behind this, going to a McDonald's? I mean, we know the guy likes Big Macs and filet of fish, and he's used the word love to describe the way he feels about the food there before. But what's this about?
There's no logic to it. It's a stunt. He has not put forth an economic agenda. He, as you know, appears to be not well, and he's engaged in some really bizarre types of activities during this campaign. So this is just another one of those stunts that he will continue on through the campaign.
So the left has no idea why he would do this. Doesn't make any sense. Clearly, he's got something mentally wrong with him. Once upon a time, even Democrats recognized, whether they genuinely meant it or not, that you had to at least pretend to connect with the working class people, with average Americans. They are so comfortable with being the elites that they can't even understand why what Trump was doing might be important to Americans. They can't even begin to wrap their mind around why Americans would feel gratitude towards Trump being amongst the people, talking to the people. I mean, again, I keep going back to that one man who was saying, "Thank you for talking with us ordinary people." I mean, it's just almost moving. And if you see the video, he's like, as he's saying this, he's putting his hands together almost subconsciously, like a prayer, like "thank you," as you would if you're, like the prayer hands together, if you're really genuinely, your body language is expressing gratitude. And how that is so meaningful for Americans, particularly as increasingly Americans feel that they aren't listened to, that the government isn't responsive, that the government doesn't care. And again, the demonstration of the divide, where you see it right there. The people are explaining why this is important, why this matters, and then to go over to MSNBC, I don't even understand this. This doesn't even make sense. Yeah, you don't. I fully believe that the Democrat Party genuinely doesn't understand why this is important. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. The same people, the same Democrats at MSNBC that scratch their head in confusion over why it's significant and important for Donald Trump to meet with average Americans at a McDonald's think that it makes perfect sense to have drag queens in swing states campaigning on behalf of Kamala Harris, and to have uber wealthy, rich celebrities out there telling the average American who drives through a McDonald's drive-thru why they shouldn't support Trump but instead support Kamala Harris. Now, Trump did get, the thing about Trump is he gets support from everywhere. While he's up at Michigan, he was introduced by a rapper named Trick Trick. I love these names, Trick Trick. A lot of these stories, especially Breitbart, they'll be like, famous rapper Trick Trick. And I'm like, are they that famous if you have to say they're famous? You know, it's like Trick Trick. And he is someone that apparently is from Michigan and is, introduced Trump as important in making Detroit great again. Meanwhile, Lizzo, campaigning for Kamala Harris, said that Kamala Harris is going to make the rest of the country like Detroit. You want to talk about two completely different divisions, or visions, rather. Pittsburgh Steelers stars Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell endorsed Trump at a rally in Pennsylvania over the weekend. Then Trump picked up another big endorsement. A majority of Pennsylvania sheriffs, the majority of county sheriffs in battleground state Pennsylvania endorsed former President Trump on Thursday, saying they are confident in his leadership and ability to safeguard the country. A letter signed by 49 of the 67 county sheriffs in the state said Trump is the best candidate to support law enforcement and secure the border. Also in Michigan, back to Michigan, Former President Donald Trump campaigned with the Arab American mayor who has previously endorsed him, visiting the city of Hamtramck, or Tramick, I think is how it's Hamtramck. He was seen campaigning with the mayor. During a press conference, Mayor Ghalib noted that the Democrat Party was trying to scare legal second and third generation immigrants in the Arab community and Muslim American community into believing that Trump was going to deport them. I'm trying to time this out properly. I'm not sure. I've got to get a traffic update, but I also have some audio in which, one, you've got MSNBC, and they're talking to Muslim voters in Michigan, in which they're like, we're not voting for Kamala Harris. Things were better under Donald Trump. We were safer under Donald Trump. And CNN also talking to Muslim voters and stunned to not be able to find a single one that was going to be supporting or that plans on supporting Kamala Harris. We're going to have Congressman Burleson in the next hour, and I'm going to save the audio of CNN and MSNBC sounding the alarm on Muslim Americans and their lack of support for Kamala Harris, and in some instances, their support of Donald Trump. But I did want to get to some of the text messages from the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line. Somebody on the audio we played earlier of Kamala Harris regarding the question again that she's failed to answer what you would do different than Biden, and we played the audio, and my hearing of it was she was saying that the vice president is not critical to the president. Someone said, I think, or I thought she was saying the VP is not critical of their president, and that could very well be the case. But listen, we all know what she's doing here. She is connected to that administration. So she's between a rock and a hard place. The Democrats are between a rock and a hard place. People think we're heading the wrong direction. So she doesn't exactly want to endorse the direction we're going in. But at the same time, because they are just so arrogant and they refuse to ever acknowledge that they're wrong and that their policies are wrong. But if she says that, yes, he was wrong, then she's arguing what Trump is out there campaigning on, and that this administration has been bad for the country. Oh, well, I'm not going to be critical of. Oh, okay. Well, if you want to earn people's votes, you'd better start being pretty specific about these things, or don't. And they're just banking on that people won't care, that they will scare you enough and get enough of your hatred stirred, not you so much, but the left in this country, that they will come out to vote in massive numbers or finish what a number of Democrat activists have tried and failed to do, and that is assassinate him. And it's clear they're still trying to get that going because of their constant talk about danger to democracy, end of the country as we know it. So that's still something that they're hoping to achieve. Nick, one thing I took away from Trump's day at McDonald's was how intently he took instructions from the fry cook and how he treated the employee with respect. Every job is an important job to the one who holds it. Absolutely 100%. I think that is another message there that may get overlooked. The left looks down on those people, whereas Trump demonstrates respect. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. If you have any home buying needs, maybe this is a time of year that you're thinking, wow, we should wait till the spring. Let's get through the holidays. I don't know if that's the right move for you or not. Maybe you don't know. This is where you use her expertise. Or can you actually get into that new home by Christmas? Hosting your family. Maybe it's always been at some other family member's house because yours just isn't accommodating enough and they wish that it could be held somewhere else. And then you've got that perfect home. You're like, well, I'll never be able to get into it in time. You found it, but you've just written off having the holidays in your new home. Emily Johnson, get with her. Find out what's possible, whether it's selling your home, finding a new one, or just any questions that you may have. What's the value of your home? What would you put it on the market for with the expectation that it sells? All of those questions. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. Did I hear on the news that Kamala is going to be campaigning with Liz Cheney again?
Yes.
All right. I mean, there are a couple of these states in which the Democrats who are running for re-election will not show up with her at campaign events. In fact, I think it was Pennsylvania, the Senate race there. She was at a rally, and she referenced the fact that Sherrod Brown was not there, saying, well, he's out there doing what he needs to do to get reelected, which was notably not be with her on stage. So she's got people within her own party that will not campaign with her. But she's running around with Liz Cheney? I mean, go ahead, knock yourself out. Go for it. I'm loving some of these news stories that are coming out about Trump and the McDonald's, and it is just further proof. I know we talked about this some of the last hour, and just how grateful the people were that were going through the drive-thru and got an opportunity not just to meet him, but to thank him so much for what he's doing, tell him we are praying for you. There was one immigrant from Brazil saying, please don't let what happened to my home country, my native country of Brazil, happen here in the United States, and then the media's reaction to it. And the more crazy they go over it, the more that you know that it is working. And I found this story. I think this is so great. This is the Independent. Trump serves disturbing message through McDonald's drive-through window about whether he'll accept election result. Just listen. So this is the opening. Donald Trump was in suburban Pennsylvania Sunday where he attempted to come across as America's everyman president, they put in quotes, in a very modern way by working at McDonald's. Instead, the former president created a kind of strange spectacle as he stoked fears about election fraud while wearing an apron through the restaurant's drive-through window. The scene that played out in the township where the former president and his campaign took over a McDonald's franchise restaurant owned by one of his supporters. The roughly hour-long photo op closed down the restaurant entirely. Well, obviously,
how did people go through the drive-through?
Yeah. Obviously, it did. Now, I'm sure the inside part was closed for that period of time, obviously for security reasons. But it clearly wasn't closed down completely because the whole point was he was serving people McDonald's. So the part of it that was the dangerous rhetoric, apparently a reporter asked, will you accept the results of the election? Because this is their go-to. And he said, if it's a fair election. So evidently now, according to the Democrats, it is dangerous to want a fair election. If your expectation in the United States of America is that the election is fair, that is dangerous. You found a story from, where is it, Ireland or something? That was like really...
He just made gaffe after gaffe, and he had such a difficult time making the fries. And it's like, yeah, he's been there for, 5 minutes?
Didn't they?
They're like, whole story.
Yeah, about how we can't believe this guy has a nuclear code. He didn't learn how to make fries. Like, okay, you want to put, I would love to see Joe Biden try what Trump did. But this is the other thing about Trump they don't get. Trump does not mind being in a situation like that, knowing he's going into something he's never done before. The reason somebody like Kamala Harris's campaign would never let her do something like this is because there are too many unknowns. Well, what if she doesn't get something right off the bat? What if she looks stupid? There are all these fears, and this is where Trump is different. He doesn't mind. He doesn't worry about that stuff. And he's comfortable in any setting. And this is one of the things that his outward persona betrays who he is when he is in a different setting. And you hear this from everyone who works with him. And if you've ever watched like him in that golfing hour-long video where he did that golfing challenge and other sort of videos where it is a setting that's not talking about policy, he's very inquisitive about things. He's very curious about things, and he doesn't mind. I watched that golf deal, whatever the challenge was, and he was like, "Hey," he talked about how wrong he was about, or how he used to golf a certain way, and he did it wrong for years and years. He has no problem whatsoever being, quote, vulnerable in that way. And when you hear these critiques of him, and oh well, I mean, he just messed up. It took 2 or 3 times for him to learn how to do it. That's what makes him different than somebody like Kamala Harris. He doesn't mind being a normal person in a setting in front of millions and millions of eyes that are watching him. Latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 79. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 55. For your Tuesday, a 30% chance of showers before 7 a.m. and then sunny with a high near 84. And on Wednesday, sunny with a high near 82.
Fall festivals, there are a lot of them that are still going on, obviously. I mean, we haven't even gotten to Halloween, a couple weeks away from that. I guess, is it a couple weeks? We have Heroes Breakfast, by the way, this Friday, so
Yes.
I didn't realize things are sneaking up. Heroes Breakfast, if you are a veteran, come out and join us on Friday at Scramblers. Delta Roofing, Air Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electrical, and the Warrior's Journey, along with Scramblers buying breakfast for veterans this Friday, 6A to 9A. And Fall Festivals of the Ozarks, we have a page at KSGF.com, sponsored by Dogwood Canyon. So if you are trying to find something fun and festive and fall-like to do over the next several weeks, you can go to KSGF.com and find that information there. Streaming live, KSGF.com. Congressman Burleson joins us this morning. I thank you for being with us, and we've talked about a number of things this morning. One of them is not just Donald Trump working at McDonald's, but the reaction, and I don't know if you've seen some of it. I think it's just so telling, the people going through the drive-thru, some of which are either immigrants themselves. Well, one, she said she's her native Brazil, pleading with Trump, please don't let America become like my native country. There was another couple that either themselves, or at least I would imagine their parents, because of their accents, were from probably India or Pakistan, just saying thank you for talking, with us ordinary people, which Trump's like, you're not an ordinary person. And what is, though, so also telling is the reaction of the left. They just don't understand this. Why would Trump do this? This doesn't make any sense. There's clearly something wrong with him. And that divide between the elites and what Donald Trump represents, it's almost as if Donald Trump sets out with these instances to demonstrate it, and then the left says, let us amplify it. And they carry the ball for him.
Yeah, they do. I love the fact that he recently also went to a barber shop.
Yes.
And when you just hear people unscripted, and it's not staged. I mean, this is the opposite of Kamala. She's got a Hollywood production going, and she's got people that are, not real white dudes that are actors that are speaking, on her behalf or for her. And Trump is just willing to walk into
anywhere,
McDonald's, and let whoever's in the drive-thru, have a moment with him. He walks into a barbershop. This was on Fox and Friends. Sits down and with all the patrons, all the barbers, and just takes questions. And you could tell. I mean, these are real Americans. They want to see their country back. They want to see there's one of the people was a business owner who's talking about how hard it was, or how hard it has become to keep his doors open with energy costs and electricity costs through the roof. So this kind of real stuff is awesome to see. But what's funny, you and I think that what happened at McDonald's was very endearing, right?
Yes, that is a perfect word for it. Thank you.
It was endearing.
Yes.
It was fun to watch, and honestly, the photos just are classic. But then the left. I went to Drudge Report to see what the left is saying, and they're mocking him.
Yeah, they don't get it.
And they're saying, that he shut down a McDonald's for a day, and so that he could perform a stunt, right? That it is, they say, one fry cooked short of a Happy Meal. Yeah. One fry short of a Happy Meal. Felon finds work at McDonald's. Like, the left they just can't stand it.
Well, and they don't get it.
The American people have had enough. And I go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say what they don't get when they're doing that, when they're mocking him, is they're mocking Americans. They are re-solidifying that disconnect that average Americans believe that Democrats have. And so they're making Trump's point when they do that, to a degree.
Yeah, he's got his finger on the pulse, right? Like, this is a guy that goes to the MMA fighting, right? And walks in. That's not a crowd that Democrats would ever send a politician into.
Well, and then you've got Shapiro on Sunday, and he was on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker, and he's asked, to what would Harris do different policy-wise. Of course, he couldn't answer it, but he went on to then say that, people a lot of Americans have brain fog. They don't remember how bad they had it during Donald Trump and how much better they have it now. And I'm like, you want to talk about a party that is just so stubborn, they refuse to listen to the voters. And then whenever they are confronted with the reality of the fact that voters aren't supporting Kamala Harris to the degree they think that they should, they turn on the voters. They call them misogynistic. They call them racist. They wag their finger at them. And it's just the most obtuse way and arrogant. There's just such an arrogance there.
Yeah, to say that you're not bright enough to remember what it was really like 4 years ago, right?
Yeah. Meanwhile,
you don't,
Trump is sitting there talking to people that are telling him about it, that he understands.
Yeah, and I think that what when I look back on the 4 years of the Trump administration, I think about how gasoline was low. I think about the fact that whenever you would generally go out to eat, you didn't even really think about it much.
Yeah.
The price, you could, you definitely, when you went to the grocery stores, you didn't really. I mean, now it's like we're returning back to the days of coupon clipping and doing all this stuff. And that's what the American people feel. They know that. And when they see their auto insurance rates go through the roof because of inflation, that's something you can't control. Suddenly now that's dipping into your pocketbook. So you can't lie to the American people and say, what you're experiencing isn't really real. Don't you remember do you remember when the angry orange man was tweeting at Rosie O'Donnell and how horrible that was and mean that was? Like that's really, the truth is, the negative things that happened during the Trump administration were caused by the Democratic Party. And I say that because we went through an entire painful process with the Russia, the complete Russia hoax, all drummed up by the Hillary Clinton campaign. They spent tens of millions of dollars investigating. They impeached the man for what is now provable that it was not true. And then, everything that they did, they made his life miserable and our lives miserable for 4 years. But through all of it, he was still able to, with his authority, make sure that this economy was great.
We are talking with Congressman Burleson. I want to play some audio. I'm sure you've heard it, but for those who haven't, this is an event. I believe it was Friday. Kamala Harris was talking about Roe v. Wade and how awesome abortion is. And now the part you won't be able to hear so much is that there is someone in the crowd that at some point hollers out, "Jesus is Lord," and what you'll hear that's important is her reaction to that.
Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, and they did as he intended. Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street.
Now, this is the same woman who last week, and the Democrats have no trouble during election season going to churches, claiming that they have, the Lord on their side. And here, I was just shocked that she would actually say this to somebody who says Jesus is Lord, whatever the context, that this isn't your place, you're at the wrong place.
I think it was I've seen that interview. I've seen it, or not interview, her speech. And to me, when I watch it, her response is so guttural. It's so instinctual that you can tell that's who she really is.
Totally agree.
And I think that video is viral, as you know. But when I say it's really viral, it's when my teenage daughters and their teenage friends who are not Republican are texting that video clip.
Well, and I think that
talking about it.
Well, and in the last couple of months, I'd say there's been this awakening, this recognition because of polling that a very significant number of Christians don't vote. If that doesn't this is the person who wants to be president of the United States, and her instinct whenever somebody says Jesus is Lord is to say, you're at the wrong rally. Well, what will she say then to people who believe Jesus is Lord if she's president of this country?
Yeah, exactly. Kamala is someone that we don't really know what her faith is, right? She grew up in a Hindu family. She was actually raised in Canada. So she graduated high school in Canada. And while she was there, she practiced Hinduism with her family. In some of her speeches, she'll talk about the different gods within that faith. And then, but what she does touch on, and where she tries to connect everybody, is that at one point she had a caretaker who was a African American woman who would, on occasion, take her to church, with her. And so Kamala, when she's able to go into these black churches and be able to talk their talk, but it doesn't mean that she believes what you believe.
Well, clearly not. I mean, we learned what she believed at that rally.
Nick, I'm going to share with you. I'm going to text you a link to a video.
Okay.
Where it's a conversation with a pastor, Gary Hamrick, and a guy named Eric Metaxas.
Yeah.
And they're talking about how Christians cannot stick their head in the sand anymore.
Yeah.
That we're at a time that's similar to the times, for example, when Nazi Germany, the churches and the pastors at that time, many of them said nothing about the horrific things that were happening. And then even in the United States, when we had slavery, many of the churches and the pastors stood quiet when it came to slavery and the horrible evils that were occurring then. And today right now we have the Amendment 3 that's on the ballot. You have children in their wombs that are being murdered and being aborted. You have this thing is going to allow for transgender surgery, and it's all paid for with your taxpayer dollars. So abortion up until and including the day of birth, partial birth abortion will be legal, and you would pay for it. Your taxpayer dollars pay for it. If a kid wants to trans, your taxpayer dollars pay for it. This is on the ballot, and you still have pastors that won't talk about this and won't get active. This is not about standing up and saying, vote for this person or this person. This is saying, this is wrong and this is right.
Right.
And this is something that it's a great speech. And I say this because I want to encourage every pastor who may be listening or a parishioner who may have a pastor, and encourage them to get off the bench, get off the sidelines. This is something you cannot stay silent about.
Well, and I'd love to see at every church prior to the election that exchange played, in which Kamala Harris tells someone who says Jesus is Lord, you're at the wrong rally, you belong at a different one, and just encourage people to imagine then if she's president of the United States, what her approach is going to be with Christians. I think she said it out loud, and I think you're right. That's just her instinct, and that's why, because Lord knows she is not good off the cuff. She is not good spur of the moment. The fact that one time she had a comeback that quickly that was on point, and that's what it was, is pretty frightening. Congressman Burleson, anything else that we need to be aware of before we let you go this morning?
No, I just thank you for letting me on.
Of course.
I really enjoy it, and it's been good. I've been in the district for the last month, and will be until Election Day. It's really good to spend quality time, in the district and have meeting after meeting. I'm looking forward to the election nights. There's going to be one at in Christian County. The Republican Party is having one at the event center, and Greene County is having an election night watch party. So I'm sure that you'll share those locations.
We will. And last I heard, the Greene County hadn't quite secured a location, but that was the end of last week. So, but yeah, we'll make sure people know, and because we have yet to decide exactly where we are going to be as well, but somewhere that is for sure. Congressman Burleson, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Nick.
Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Coming up, audio, MSNBC talking with a number of Muslim voters, and CNN also discussing what they're learning about Muslim voters that has them all very, very panicked. That audio next. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Color 10, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 79. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 55. For your Tuesday, a 30% chance of showers before 7 a.m., and then sunny with a high near 84. And on Wednesday, sunny with a high near 82.
I don't know that there's a demographic that Democrats have seen erosion in support from left, other than maybe white women still are high in support for Kamala Harris. But other than that, every demographic, there's been some level of erosion, and they are panicked over the Muslim vote. And this is a vote that I've noted the remarkably different approach between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris's approach has been to cater to those who are supportive of terrorism. Her approach has been to cater towards the anti-Semitic Muslim population. This is why, again, she did not choose Governor Shapiro. This is why they have continued to try and sabotage the efforts of Benjamin Netanyahu in order to eradicate terrorism. Up to and including on the world stage, demanding that he not enter into Rafah, which is where they killed off the architect of October 7th last week. Trump's approach has been to try to win the Muslim vote here in America, of those who want peace and just to have successful lives with a good quality of life. And it appears as if Trump's approach is the winning approach at this time. MSNBC recently interviewed a group of Muslim voters in Michigan. There were 4 of them. And you get a couple of sound bites here from a couple of the voters. And at one point, the interviewer said, "Who here is going to support Kamala Harris?" Not a single one of them raised their hands, and this is some of the feedback. This is where no one raises their hand.
Absolutely no.
No.
Not possible.
There's nothing she can do or say for us to change our mind.
The campaign that the Democrats ran was that Donald Trump hates us. I felt safe though in the country when Trump was in office. I don't feel safe right now with Kamala in office. So, I mean, that to me speaks more.
So you've got the one Muslim woman saying there's nothing. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to vote for it. You have another saying, oh, they keep telling us Trump's a dictator, but reality is I feel safer. You know, I heard some Democrat over the last several days once again claiming falsely that Trump implemented a Muslim ban into this country. You think about the world that the left has tried to create falsely about all the different categories of people, and when it comes to people of the Islamic faith in this country, Trump implemented a Muslim ban. He's going to deport you. He's going to deport Muslims. He's Islamophobic. And here you have a Muslim woman, American citizen. It's like, look, we hear what you're saying, but reality is we are safer. We were safer under Donald Trump in this country than we are or will be under Kamala Harris. CNN had a segment regarding what they found while investigating Muslim support for Kamala Harris.
Business sector in the Arab American community. And I was really surprised this week to get an earful to hear them say that they would much rather either vote a third party, not vote at all, or vote for Donald Trump. And I'm telling you, it's not obviously a significant sample size, but I cannot find one Arab American within my social circle in business or personally who have said that they will vote for Kamala Harris. When you look at the polling, it seems sort of neck and neck. What they are saying, and this is not a Donald Trump campaign line, that Tiffany Trump's father-in-law, who's a Lebanese businessman, has been successful in kind of converting and talking to people to explain why Trump would be better, even with a Muslim ban, even with everything else that has happened. They feel they do not have any political clout. They don't have any political operation. The only political power they have is their vote, even if it means the rise of Donald Trump.
That's extraordinary. That's extraordinary.
Now, of course, the lie about a Muslim ban, which wasn't true. But you listen to, again, the disconnect there. And what happens with the left, they don't have any sort of desire to really, truly figure out what's happening and then to reflect on that. Instead, it's trying to get bits and pieces that they can then use to rationalize why what is happening in a way that doesn't suggest that they may just be wrong. So in other words, her framing of what she claims she found is that the reason these people are supporting Donald Trump is because his son-in-law is Lebanese and has been corralling them together, and because there's this vacuum in which they don't feel that they, as Muslim or Arab Americans, have any sort of political clout. So that's Trump. They feel like they can get it with Trump because of Trump's son-in-law. And despite the fact that this means Donald Trump will become president, they're going to do it anyway. So she sees it as they erroneously feel that they don't have any power. They've been convinced they will with Trump because of his son-in-law. And that's why they're supporting him. Now, what this is rationalization. Because as you noted, we played earlier, now you could call it anecdotal, but you have this Arab woman who says, for her, listen, we've just felt safer in this country under Donald Trump. What the Democrats never do is genuinely listen to people and then accept responsibility. If they ever do listen to people, it is for the purpose of telling the people why they're wrong. For example, the economy. I mean, how many times people, the economy, no, you're wrong. It's better than ever. We've got the best economy in the world. It's so much better than it was before. Or if they acknowledge that the economy's bad, they tell you to get over it because when Donald Trump's putting you in prison camps, it won't matter what the price of groceries are. They never learn for the purposes of recognizing that they have done something wrong and how they, as a political party, can do things better. It is to figure out how it is they can explain to you why you're wrong and you're the bad guy. But it doesn't work. I'll play further evidence of that coming up. Left-wing ESPN employee Stephen Smith, who's been very anti-Trump, very vocal about it, making comments regarding Barack Obama last week lecturing black people, black men specifically, who aren't supporting Kamala Harris. See, it can't be because they were worried about their businesses or their jobs or crime. It's because they're misogynistic. Wilder RV, Clinton, Missouri, north on 13, just over an hour, easy drive for all of your RV needs. Maybe that's prepping it for winter, or perhaps you want to take advantage of their end-of-the-year sales and upgrade or downgrade or just get into something new. Maybe you're a first-time RVer. They're fantastic for you as well. Incredible deals, financing available. You can find all that information at wilderrv.com. The Democrats, as you know, have an interesting approach in terms of dealing with voters that do not get in line, and that is to lecture them. It's particularly stark when Obama does it because at the Democratic National Convention, his speech was about we have to stop lecturing people. And then he immediately goes out there and starts lecturing people, black men specifically, telling them if you don't support Kamala Harris, then it is because you are a misogynist. Left-wing commentator Stephen Smith from ESPN had this to say recently in a posting that he put out, I think it was on TikTok.
Before I go any further, I want you to hear exactly what this man had to say.
That's not acceptable.
Respectfully, President Obama, what you said is not acceptable. Is it possible that the only reason some black folks may not be inclined to vote, or they may be a bit disenchanted, or dare I say may even be willing to go as far as voting for Trump, is it possible that it's policy as opposed to misogyny Inflation, the cost of living, the price of gas, the price of groceries. That don't matter? Immigration and our borders. And this belief that there's an elevated level of sensitivity towards them, as opposed to black folks struggling, if not starving in this country. Yes, that plays a role too. When the mayor of New York was talking about $53 million in prepaid credit cards for immigrants who came across our borders illegally and having prepaid credit cards for them. And I said, wait a minute, black folks been starving for years. We ain't get that. You don't think they notice?
Now, aside from the erroneous assertion that black people don't receive benefits in this country, he asserted at the end, this is a reaction, and he's not the only one. There are plenty. He, of course, has a much higher name recognition because of his position at ESPN, and he's a hardcore Democrat. But this is in line with what so many other black men across this country have been saying and posting on social media, their response to this assertion that if they are not happy with the way things are in this country and they want to go back to when things were better for them, that means that they are misogynistic. But I think perhaps what gets overlooked here is at the same time, whenever the Democrats treat voting blocks this way, when they do not do their jobs, shut up, and go out and vote, regardless of the outcome, it is a demonstration of how little they actually care about these people. As Smith is pointing out here, the reason that so many people are very concerned about Kamala Harris being president of the United States, men of color included, is because they're business owners, or they work jobs in which they have concerns about whether those jobs will exist. And the fact that whether you are an employee who, even if you've gotten a raise, it is still less in spending power because of the inflation of this administration. These are real things that real people worry about. And to have so little regard for what the average American, or in this case, the average black person in this country is going through, that you dismiss their concerns and accuse them of just hating women. When Obama said that, and of course he's not the only one, he was acknowledging he does not really care about what these people go through. He does not care what you go through. With his, God even knows how many multi-million-dollar mansions that he has now. He doesn't care. They do not care. Look at the way that they behave. Look at what happens when you simply have a small segment of the black population speak up and say, hey, we're kind of worried about the direction of things right now. We're worried because we are losing our purchasing power. We're worried because it's becoming more expensive to feed our kids. They're told, shut up, you woman hater. That is Obama. That is the Democrat establishment putting, in this case, the black man in his place. And his place is to show up when it's time to vote and then go back to the inner city and shut your mouth, lest I will demonize you and make an example of you in front of everyone else. And this is why, frankly, in areas of the country that have been run by this party generation after generation, you have the lowest quality of life for people specifically and disproportionately negatively, in fact, impacting the black family. Because they don't care. If they really cared, then there would be no better place to live in this country than the inner city black neighborhood. That would be where Americans would aspire to be, regardless of race, regardless of background, regardless of skin color. Everyone would, the American dream would be to live in an inner city black neighborhood. But that's not the case, is it? And that's because the people in charge don't care. They care about you when it's time for you to show up to vote, to push them into office once again so they can do the same thing over and over again. And if you dare raise your hand and say, hey, I've got some concerns about the way things have been going, you will be made an example of. You will be disciplined in front of the masses so that they see what will happen to them if they misbehave. And that's what Obama did yesterday or last week. And that's why it was that even though he's a hardcore Democrat, Stephen Smith over there at ESPN was, you could tell, very, very angry. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. So after a couple of weeks, CBS News' 60 Minutes finally responded last night to the scandal that erupted when the show deceptively edited remarks in that interview with Kamala Harris. I believe the question was regarding why it is that Netanyahu was not listening to Kamala Harris and Biden when, among other things, they were telling him not to go into Rafah, which is where he and the Israelis killed the mastermind of October 7th, of which then Harris was out there saying, yeah, we all really worked together on this. No, that's not what happened. 60 Minutes claimed that the allegations it deceitfully edited its interview with Harris was false. So they fact-checked it and it was false. Oh, okay. Well, that's how it works. There we go, everyone. It's false. The statement claimed 60 Minutes gave an excerpt of our interview to Face the Nation that used a longer section of her answer than that on 60 Minutes. Same question, same answer, but a different portion of the response. Now, if you don't remember what occurred here, was there was an airing, and it was done in order to pre-promote the full interview so that people would turn in and watch 60 Minutes as it aired. And the clip that was aired on Face the Nation was widely mocked because of the twisted word salad from Kamala Harris. And it was the Trump people that were pushing it out there, wanting as many people to see it as possible. Well, lo and behold, when it came time to air the full interview, they had a pared down version that made her sound a little less incoherent. And it was clear why. It was because, and I suspect there's a good chance that the Harris campaign, because they've done it before, called and said that needs to be edited in order to make her sound less like an idiot. Not their words, I'm sure. Now, 60 Minutes, they're claiming that, there was no deception here whatsoever, that it was just a different editing. From the very, very beginning, there's a very easy way to go about this, and just release it all online. Glenn Beck's next. I'm Nick Reed.